Dad Perfect Revenge. I was just about to put my signature on the biggest loan agreement of my entire life when my phone suddenly started ringing. "Bradley, it's Michelle, your neighbor," she said. Her voice sounded nervous and full of worry. "Why are there people loading trucks from your store right now?" My hand froze in the middle of signing the expansion loan documents. The pen stopped above the paper. The banker sitting across the desk looked irritated by the interruption. I had already been sitting inside the First National Bank of Grand Island for almost an hour, carefully reviewing every page of the paperwork that would officially add the new lumberyard to Stevens Hardware and Supply. This moment was supposed to be the biggest achievement of my life. It was the dream my grandfather had carried for decades but never had enough money to complete. After 35 years of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication, I was finally about to expand the family business into something bigger. "What trucks?" I asked, standing up so quickly that my chair dragged loudly across the floor. "Moving trucks," Michelle replied. "Large ones. They're taking boxes, equipment, and other things out of your building. I can see everything happening from my window." My name is Bradley Stevens, and I am 58 years old. For 3 decades, I worked as an insurance fraud investigator before returning home to take over my family's hardware store 6 years ago. I made that decision because my wife, Amanda, became seriously ill and needed me by her side. 2 years ago, cancer took her away from me. After losing Amanda, Stevens Hardware became more than just a business. It became the one thing that kept me moving forward. It was the place where I felt connected to my family and my past. My grandfather started Stevens Hardware during the Great Depression, a time when many people barely had enough money to survive. But even during those difficult years, people still needed tools, supplies, and materials to repair their homes. My grandfather believed that helping people was more important than making quick profits. 3 generations of Stevens men had given their time, energy, and heart to that store. Every shelf, every corner, and every piece of equipment carried a piece of our family history. That Tuesday morning in March, I thought the biggest problem I would face was whether the bank approved my loan. I had no idea something much worse was already happening. "Did you send movers there?" Michelle asked. I could hear her walking around, probably trying to get a clearer view from her kitchen window across the street. "No," I answered immediately. "I didn't schedule anyone. I'm coming right now." I grabbed my jacket and started walking toward the door, but before I could leave, something caught my attention. Through the thin wall between the loan offices, I heard a laugh I recognized instantly. It was a voice I had known my entire life. It was Emily, my younger sister. She was 46 years old and was supposed to be in Omaha visiting her 12-year-old son, Keith. At least, that was what she had told me. But there was no doubt. That was Emily's voice coming from the office next door. And she wasn't just talking. She was laughing. Not a normal laugh. It was the kind of laugh someone makes when they believe they have done something clever. The kind of laugh from a person who thinks they have created the perfect plan and nobody will ever discover the truth. I left the loan papers sitting on the desk and walked out. Within seconds, I was in my truck, driving the 8 blocks back to my store. The entire drive, my mind was filled with questions. Why would someone move things from my store? Who gave them permission? How did they get inside? And why was Emily at the bank when she was supposed to be hundreds of miles away? For months, Emily had been acting differently. At first, I ignored it. She was my sister, and I wanted to believe the best about her. But lately, she had started asking too many questions about the business. She wanted to know details about the expansion plans. She asked about profit numbers. She asked about insurance coverage. She asked about contracts and company records. I thought she was just trying to help. After everything I'd gone through with Amanda's illness and then losing her, I assumed Emily was simply trying to support me. I never imagined she could be planning something against me. When I finally reached Stevens Hardware, the moving trucks were already gone. The parking lot was empty. The only evidence left behind was a set of tire marks pressed into the gravel. I stood there staring at those tracks, feeling something I had felt many times during my years investigating fraud. That uncomfortable feeling when your instincts tell you something is wrong. Something is very wrong. But you don't know the full picture yet. Michelle came running toward the entrance as soon as she saw me. Her phone was already in her hand. "I took pictures," she said. She quickly handed the phone to me. The truck, the license plate, the people moving everything. I didn't know what else to do, so I started recording. I looked through the pictures carefully. My hands started feeling tense as I saw what had happened. The movers were wearing professional uniforms with the name Nebraska Premier Moving Services printed on them. They weren't random people. They were a real moving company. They had taken at least 20 large boxes from my store. But that wasn't all. In one picture, I could clearly see my computer equipment being carried outside. My filing systems, my business records. 35 years of customer information, supplier agreements, financial documents, and important company data were all stored there. Someone had not just stolen objects. Someone had taken the history of my entire business. Within 30 minutes, the police arrived. Officers Rodriguez and Patel came inside and started asking questions. They were both young enough to be my children, and they spoke to me with the calm patience people often use when they think someone is confused or overwhelmed. They checked the building carefully. They looked for fingerprints. They examined the doors and windows. But they found something strange. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no damaged doors. Nothing showed that anyone had broken into the store. Then they checked my security system. I had installed it after Amanda passed away because I wanted better protection for the business. Officer Rodriguez looked at her tablet with a serious expression. "Mr. Stevens," she said slowly, "according to Allied security records, your alarm system was turned off yesterday at 3:47 p.m. I stared at her. "How?" She looked back at the screen. "It was disabled using the master code." My stomach tightened. The building was also accessed this morning at 9:22 a.m. The same master code was used again. Both entries are listed as authorized. Authorized. That one word felt heavier than anything else she had said, because there was only one person besides me who knew that code. Emily. Last year, when I had been hospitalized because of diabetes complications, Emily offered to check on the store while I recovered. I trusted her. She was my little sister. I never thought twice about giving her access. I trusted her with my business. I trusted her with my family's legacy. I trusted her with everything. And now that trust felt like the biggest mistake I had ever made, Trevor had been carrying out similar scams across 3 different states, focusing on elderly business owners and family members who were easier to manipulate. Emily had been his person on the inside, using her connection to relatives to build trust and gain access to private financial information. They had already stolen $45,000 from Trevor's uncle in Iowa by creating fake stories about medical emergencies and urgent expenses. They were also preparing to go after my cousin Ruth in Kansas, who owned a successful bakery and had built a respected business of her own. The FBI discovered proof of at least 6 more possible victims saved on Trevor's computer. The federal prosecutors gave Trevor an opportunity to reduce his situation if he agreed to reveal information about his larger fraud operation and assist them in recovering money and property for the people he had harmed. He accepted the offer almost instantly. He moved faster than someone running for cover during a tornado. Emily, faced with overwhelming evidence and the testimony of the man she worked with, decided to plead guilty instead of going through a trial that could have completely ruined whatever remained of our family's name and reputation in Grand Island. Emily received a sentence of 4 years in federal prison. Trevor received 5 years. The fake partnership agreement was officially canceled. The dishonest loans connected to the scheme were taken away from our business credit history. Ryan's experience and connections in the banking world helped me create stronger security protections that would stop anyone from gaining that kind of internal access again. We managed to recover around $28,000 of the stolen money through the process of asset recovery, but the majority of what was taken was never found. The Escalade was sold. Trevor's construction machines and equipment were auctioned off. Emily's jewelry collection was used to help cover the money she owed back to the victims. It did not completely repair the damage or return everything I lost, but it represented justice. It showed that their actions had consequences. Keith is living with his father now, and honestly, that is probably the healthiest situation for everyone involved. I still see him occasionally around town. He is growing into a respectful and kind young man despite the difficult circumstances his mother created for him. I have chosen not to tell him every painful detail about Emily's crimes. One day, when he is older, he will discover the full truth on his own. For now, I allow him to believe that his parents made serious mistakes and are facing the results of those decisions. Today, I continue running Stevens Hardware with the support of a store manager I brought in after my health suffered from the pressure and emotional damage caused by everything that happened. My diabetes is under control, but the betrayal changed me in ways that time alone could not fix. It aged me more deeply than any illness ever could. Still, the business is strong, successful, and prepared for the future. If there is another generation ready to continue it someday, they will inherit something that survived a storm most businesses never experience. I also discovered a new mission that I never expected to find. Recently, I spoke at the Nebraska Small Business Association conference about the dangers of financial fraud within families. Just a week before that, I helped another hardware store owner in Lincoln discover that his nephew had been secretly taking inventory from his business. I realized that the lessons my grandfather's store gave me, noticing small details, understanding people's behavior, and protecting the things that truly matter, were not just useful for running a business. They were valuable skills that could help other owners defend themselves from similar betrayals. Michelle still watches over the store from across the street, just like she always has. Through everything that happened, our friendship became much stronger. She often reminds me that my grandfather would be proud of me, not only because I protected the business he built, but because I turned my painful experience into something that could help other people protect what they have worked so hard to create. Sometimes I imagine Emily sitting in her prison cell, and I feel an emotion that is difficult to explain. It is not happiness. It is not sadness. It is something more distant and lasting, almost like an old wound that is healed on the outside but still leaves a mark that reminds you of what happened. The pain has faded, but the memory remains. This entire experience showed me something I never fully understood before. Family loyalty and family trust are not always the same thing. You can care about someone deeply and still need to protect yourself from the harmful choices they make. You can love a person while recognizing that their actions have crossed a line. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to support someone's harmful behavior, even if that person shares your blood and your family name. Our grandfather's store is not simply surviving anymore. It has become something more meaningful. It is now helping other families protect their own businesses and avoid the mistakes that nearly destroyed ours. Maybe that is the kind of legacy he would have wanted all along. The abilities and lessons you gain while building your career do not disappear when your working years are over. They stay with you. They become the tools you rely on when everything you built is threatened. The knowledge you collect, the habits you develop, and the experience you earn can become the very things that protect you when life becomes difficult. People often say that blood is thicker than water. Maybe that is true in some ways, but blood is not thicker than facts. It is not stronger than proof. It is not more important than protecting what is right. Sometimes saving your family's future means making painful decisions. Sometimes protecting the legacy passed down to you means standing against the very people who share your last name. And sometimes the greatest way to honor your family is by refusing to let anyone, even family, destroy everything they worked so hard to build.